Hey, Ralph here. Welcome to part 3 of building your brand with LinkedIn, talking about making connections. And this is going to be a brief one. There's a couple kind of stories and points I want to make along the way, but shouldn't take a whole lot of time to get through this. So, first of all, the question of who you should connect with. And my first bullet here is that they don't call it social networking, or they call it social networking for a reason. Okay. And, so the general answer to that question typically for me is, you should connect to anybody who has some potential value in your professional life. One of the things so a couple like stories I'd like to tell. So I'm an IT guy, and as an IT guy, we're opt-out people. We always, opt out of everything. But for whatever reason, one time I got a new phone, and on my new phone, I was setting up LinkedIn, and I just wasn't paying enough attention. And so all of a sudden, LinkedIn went out and invited all of my contacts to LinkedIn and to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I thought, oh no, but then it's turned out to be a really nice thing. Over the course of time, I've coached baseball teams and, been involved in different activities. And so there's a number of different sort of people in the community leaders and things like that I have some relationship with, but not necessarily somebody that I would call a friend. And so, all of a sudden now in my LinkedIn connections, all of these people that, are part of the community. And in that way, I'm interconnected with them that way. And it was really it was a good thing. It reconnected with, some old friends and things like that, which is always important. And so, that was kind of made me realize that, when you're talking about who you should connect with LinkedIn, make it a large circle. Okay. Really anybody who, will potentially, have some value to you in your professional life. So we're talking certainly colleagues. I try to connect with everyone inside of my own organization. Whenever we bring in new hires, I try to connect to them and welcome them to the organization. Friends make for interesting connections. They're not necessarily directly related to your professional life, but on the other hand, they may open up doors and opportunities. Sort of the other story I like to tell is people ask me, how I got my job. And, I always tell them I bought a dog. And so I bought a dog. I went for a walk. I met someone who had the same kind of dog and had the same interests as me. We started hanging out. We started, hunting with our dogs together. We started fishing together. He was doing something totally different than what I did. He moved to a company. And one day we were out fishing. He said, "Hey man, I'm really enjoying my experience here. You should really come check it out." And I did. And, 18 years later, I'm at the same organization, loving what I do. But that opportunity arose out of some sort of, a connection that was made by walking my dog. And so potentially the breed that I selected when I bought my dog influenced, where I ended up in my professional career for the last 18 years. So it's really hard to know which connections, are going to return large qualities and quantities of value when you make the connection. So I always sort of err on the side of making sure that I connect with as many people as possible. I'm an instructor. I try to always connect to my students. I try to connect to all of our vendors and all of our partners. And so, I really believe that from a connection standpoint that you should, have a large circle of connections. One of the things that I've heard from time to time is that you should always try to add a personal message when you're making a connection. I'm not necessarily the best about always doing that, but that is a piece of wisdom and advice I've heard from people who might know a little bit more than me about the LinkedIn experience. But again, when you're asking the question of should I or shouldn't I connect to this particular individual, from my perspective, if you're at the point of asking that question, then almost always the answer is yes, you should connect with that individual. So like I said, short and sweet, but I think it's a huge part of social networking is, going out there and making those connections. So we'll see you for the next part.